Hi there, my name is Eli Kaplan, and I do a channel called Ancestral Recall. My web series is about the history of Magic the Gathering, where it came from, its major influences, and how each set contributes to the game's history. Usually I work set by set, but I do some other stuff like top 10 lists. I've done a series of explaining how I built my cube. But anyway, the show I want to show you guys is a really awesome one, focusing on the development of the game in the early 90s. This is a part of the game that you very rarely hear about because, it's 20 years old and most of the people who were involved in it are no longer within the company. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy this. And if you enjoy this, check out my channel, maybe like some of the videos, and subscribe as well. Thanks for watching. Hi there, and welcome to Ancestral Recall. I'm your host, Eli Kaplan. For those of you new to the series, I've written coverage and articles for a variety of websites, including The Mothership, Star City Games, and The Dojo. Ancestral Recall is a web series that explores the history of Magic the Gathering. Well, it's here, the day I've been excited for and dreading at the same time. After 22 videos, we're really doing this. This is the Ancestral Recall retrospective on Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, the very origin of Magic. Today we're going to preface Alpha with the story of how it came to be. Richard Garfield started design of a trading card game, first called Mana Clash, while he was a grad student working on his PhD at the University of Pennsylvania, here in Philadelphia. Right now, I teach a class in the very same building he worked in. Now, Garfield tested Mana Clash out with other members of Penn's board game and strategy game club, which still meets today. This design was robust, with concepts that hadn't been tried before, such as players owning and trading individual cards rather than redistributing them before every game. Players would trade cards to build better decks over time, and they'd also trade cards through the results of games through ante, where the winner of a match walked away with one of the loser's cards. In 1991, Garfield got in touch by email with Peter Adkison, the CEO of Wizards of the Coast. At the time, WotC was a small RPG publisher that had acquired the property Talisanta, a fantasy alternative to D&D with over a decade of previous books under other publishing houses. WotC was not quite an indie press, but it was close. Now, the company had some links to game distributors and regularly ran ads in the most commonly read book in the tabletop RPG field, TSR's Dragon magazine. When Garfield went to Adkison, he wanted to sell him a board game design for Robo Rally. Now, you can play Robo Rally today, by the way. It's an experience. I'm going to tell you, it's an experience in frustration, but it's really creative frustration. Now, Peter had a positive reaction to the pitch, but said to Richard that he thought that the market needed a game that was faster and easier to pick up. Also, Robo Rally was too expensive to produce. So when gamers went to big cons like Gen Con or Atlantis Dragon Con to play in tabletop games, they often had downtime, sometimes of an hour or more. And when these gamers were in a room of strangers, these players needed something to do. Richard recognized that Mana Clash fit the concept and told Peter that he'd do what he could. After some repurposing, Richard showed up with cards in hand and pitched the basic idea to Atkinson. According to Mark Rosewater, both of them knew that the idea would take off if they executed it well. This was money in the bank if only they could pull it off right. Garfield has said that the biggest influence on Magic was a board game called Cosmic Encounters. This science fiction themed board game had players playing different factions in resource management and conflict, and the rules of each faction were different. The rules of the games also shifted as well, depending on the cards in play, as part of a theme of mutation. The most important part of Cosmic Encounter is that the rules were not carved in stone and were a living, dynamic thing. And that was just as true for Magic. When the text of cards conflicted with the rules in the textbook, the cards' rules held sway. If Winter Orb is out, you only untap one land per turn. This was a radical concept in game design. Atkinson and Jesper Myfors, a Swedish artist who got tapped to be the art director, used their RPG developing contacts to reach out to a number of Pacific Northwest area painters and artists to do the art for the new cards. Wizards had a card design, but they needed the art. They paid freelancers who got a flat fee per art. And then there was the issue of the name. Garfield started off just calling it Magic, but the name Magic wasn't copyrightable. So they tried Mana Clash, but everyone agreed that wasn't quite doing it. They went to talk to a lawyer who said that they had to add on something to Magic to make it theirs. Now, the solution came from White Wolf's hit tabletop RPG of 1991, Vampire: The Masquerade. Just add a colon and a distinctive subtitle, and that's something you can copyright. So, Magic the Gathering was born. Chris Rush, whose most famous card is the original Lightning Bolt, designed the game's logo. Peter Atkinson didn't have a ton of money and wasn't able to find a US-based printer to take his order. It was a small order. So after getting turned down by a number of American printers, he contacted Cartamundi, based in Belgium. They took the job and got to work in spring of 1993. After doing a few chaotic demos at Origins, Wizards of the Coast released Magic to the world at Gen Con in early 1993. Atkinson, the company's founder, sold out the game's entire test run in a few hours. The word got around. I saw players playing with Alpha and Beta cards at MeePaCon in Easton, PA in late fall of '93, in between games of Shadowrun and Paranoia. Now, I didn't think of it much at the time, but my friend called me up and raved about it and said, Eli, our local comic book store, which is Unknown Comics in Clark Summit, PA, long since gone, but anyway, the store had been able to get some from this distributor a month later. He cajoled me into trying the game out, he taught me how to play the game, and from there, I was hooked. Thanks, Ed. As a personal note, I want to say that there are only a few sets that I haven't opened from a booster. These sets are Alpha, Beta, Arabian Nights, and Alliances. And yes, I have opened all 3 Portal boosters before, and the Renaissance booster. If there's one thing I can tell you about Magic in 93 and 94, it's this. Magic cards were very hard to find. Comic book stores and gaming stores got them, and they'd sell out virtually instantaneously. My local comic book store actually called my friend to let him know that they got starters and boosters in, instead of him calling. That's customer service. People would travel for hours to baseball card shops, bookstores, anywhere where RPG stuff was sold looking for boosters. The demand was that high. Unlimited was almost a misnomer. So when you had the chance to open boosters, man, was it exciting. I have to tell you, when Modern Masters came out, my local gaming store limited purchases to 5 a day. And man, it brought back such a nostalgic feeling. I mean, I wanted more. I was greedy, but the fact that it was limited triggered memories. Now, I was 16 when Magic came out. I didn't grow up with trading card games the same way many younger players have done today. And the model of buying individual pieces and trading them, it felt a bit juvenile at first. But when I saw all the different powerful cards out there, I said, okay, it's fine to trade cards like a 10-year-old for my favorite team's baseball cards. I'm going to refer to the set as ABU, short for Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited. Now, the sets are almost identical in card composition, except for the fact that Alpha doesn't have Volcanic Island or Circle of Protection Black. The other famous difference between Alpha and Beta is that the card corners on Alpha are more rounded than those of Beta. Check this out, I'll show you.
Hi there, this is Eli, just showing off a couple cards. If you guys look on the left, the Chaos Orb you see is from Alpha. If you look to the right, that's a Sarah Angel from Beta. And as you can see, the angle I've chosen, the lower right corner of the Chaos Orb is much more rounded, so as opposed to the Sarah Angel on the right. I'm going to show you guys for a basis of comparison. So here we have Big Furry Monster. I'm going to move this up just a skosh so you can see how the angles match. That BFM, yeah, that's mint. So you guys can see how similar they are. But if I move the Chaos Orb up, no, I'm not going to flip it on camera. Not today anyway, maybe another day. But as you guys can see, comparing these angles, very different. Yeah, so Beta has a much more squarish cut than Alpha. What the hell? Boom! Headshot!
There are also some other significant differences between the sets. The one that's most obvious is the card borders. Unlimited has white borders. Alpha and Beta have black. Alpha has some rules text that uses letters instead of proper mana symbols. Some of Alpha's cards were missing pips on the mana cost, such as Orcish Oriflame. Beta fixed these issues. Technically, by the way, both Alpha and Beta were referred to as Limited, followed by Unlimited. Wizards didn't publicly acknowledge the difference between Alpha and Beta for many months. The first time they printed an official card list, well, it was unofficial, and it was in Shadis Magazine number 2. Also, these cards don't have expansion symbols. We didn't get expansion symbols on core set cards until 6th edition. Wizards retroactively added them for the sake of standardization in Gatherer, so if you're using Gatherer to look for cards, sometimes you'll see this funny looking A, B, and U. These symbols have never appeared on a card before. One key difference between these boosters and today's is that there were multiple lands in boosters. Players opening a booster could get a basic land in a common or uncommon slot. There was even a rare island, which I remember opening numerous times and cussing out. This practice continued through a revised edition until 4th edition. At the time, Wizards had no way to guarantee players that they'd be able to get the basic lands needed to build proper decks. So lands, just basic lands, were quite valuable. I remember paying a quarter each to get basic lands I needed for the mono black deck I played in my first tournament. The art of the game was based on stock Western fantasy tropes with European knights and medieval peasants, interspersed with a barbarian aesthetic akin to that of Robert Howard's Conan the Barbarian, though the overall tone of the game was focused on wizards. There are a few pointy-capped guys wearing robes, which felt kind of uncool at the time. I mean, check out that guy on Fast Bond. Guys wearing pointy hats were a staple of heavy metal bands, an 80s phenomenon that was so phenomenally and ridiculously goofy that it tarnished the good name of mages for 2 decades. It took Peter Jackson to make the American public take these people seriously again. The wizards, not the heavy metal guys. The heart of the game, of course, is the color pie. Garfield found the sweet spot of 5 different colors, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. The 5 types of magic also corresponded to the different types of magic in fantasy literature and tabletop games. Nature magic, death magic, holy magic, energy magic, and mind magic, as well as artifice. Richard found appropriate game mechanics that corresponded to these tropes. Magic also took a page from Jack Vance, a popular pulp fantasy author who created a system where mages had to study spells daily to use them, and once you used a spell, it was gone for a day. Just like in D&D, once you use a spell, it would be hard to use it again in the same fight unless you studied copies, or put multiples in your deck, as it were. For people who enjoy burning money, buying boosters of Alpha, Beta, or Unlimited is extremely risky because of the packaging. Light can penetrate it, so if unscrupulous owners project light, like on a light board, and push individual cards up, they can actually see what the contents of the booster are. This design flaw was true for boosters all the way up to Ice Age. I'm really glad they solved this problem. Now, starter decks don't have this problem, to be fair, but those are even more expensive, so this isn't happening. Oh, I really want to open a booster. Oh, wait, I know what I can do. Click on these links so you can see what it's like to open some of this product. Thanks, YouTube community. Alright, we're going to finish here today, and we're going to come back with a profile on black. We'll be spending a long while exploring the depths of this set, but this is the genesis of Magic, and it deserves some serious reflection. So if you enjoyed this video, hammer on that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and don't forget, I have a crap ton of other videos to check out. And don't forget to leave a comment. Thanks for watching. This is Eli Kaplan for Ancestral Recall, signing off. Good games, and good luck.